Trailer.
I want to see what he looks like.
Dude, you'll see what he looks like in the
I
trailer.
didn't see it in the trailer.
There is a new
Oh.
trailer that has him.
He looks
Who?
very like Gamera.
Which one?
That's not even the thing.
What is that?
Oh, I'm trying to look for the picture of Godzilla.
Oh, Singular Point?
Yeah,
The
this
Netflix
one.
show?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Does
You
not
really
look
see it.
like Gamera.
Yeah,
He
he
looks
kind of
Gamera.
does.
He
Only
looks-
with the tusks.
He looks very Gamera.
Yeah.
Huh?
So,
Wait, are you? Nah, come on.
sound check.
No, you.
Yeah, man.
Oh shoot.
Sound
Oh wait, I'm
No, you
muted.
don't
check.
need that.
This is sound check.
This is sound check. 40
Okay.
seconds in.
Are you sure this is sound check?
This is totally sound check.
This is very sound check.
Sound checker.
First rule about sound check: you don't talk about sound check.
Ooh. Second rule about sound check.
You don't talk about sound check.
Ooh. AJ, you got something to say about that?
Or are you gonna sound check? Huh?
Hmm.
Are you gonna sound check? Are you gonna sound check?
What I'm going to
Are-
say about Soundcheck is that Onaga rules supreme.
Naga. What the frick is that?
The
Not
first
Twilight.
ruler of Outworld.
No, Naga is
Ooh.
better. The Naga from Twilight Forest.
I'm not talking. No. Onaga.
And Naga sounds better.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it is.
Onaga means great dragon.
And Naga is a dragon. Already.
Yeah, so a great dragon is better than just a dragon.
No,
Puny.
but this isn't just a dragon. This is a snake dragon, which is
Yeah,
better
who
than
cares?
a great dragon.
No, it's not.
A
No, it's
great
not.
Dragon.
Great
he's
dragon
so
is
great.
better.
This dragon is so great, but this one is a snake, which is better.
That's BS.
It's not BS. The
Yes,
Naga
that
from
is
Twilight
BS.
Forest is awesome.
Yeah, and he'll get one shot by
Only,
Onaga.
okay. For those of you who don't know idea, you're not an OG of Minecraft. I'm sorry. Bye. Well, technically, it's not even just Minecraft.
Okay, sound check. And after that super awesome 2-minute sound check, hello everybody, and welcome to the CrossGen Podcast. I am Walt, and my boys, introduce yourselves.
This is Revan and AJ.
Come on. now you're just making it hard on me. Now I gotta come up with a nickname.
Come on, you can do it. Think Mortal Kombat lore, because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, come on. I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, really. Revenant, Eli,
Noob Cybot Eli.
Noob,
Or
Eli,
Noob Eli Bot. No? Quan Eli?
Quan Eli, Eli Soong.
Black
Eli,
Dragon Eli.
Eli Kang?
Kabili.
No. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, God. no.
Ray,
Kung-
Eli.
Kung Eli?
Sonya.
Boy Rai Eli?
Eli Blade.
Eli
Eli
Blade.
Blade.
There you go. All right.
It's not the best, but it works.
All right.
Eli Blade.
There you go. So, people, welcome back. How are you guys doing? Today, obviously, we're going to be talking about Yes, we're going to be talking about that, but we're not talking about solely the 2021 movie. We're going to compare the 2021 movie to the original 1995 Mortal Kombat. And not only that, because here at CrossGen we go crazy, we are going to compare both of those things to the actual lore that's found in video games about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
How you like me now, people? So anyway, before we start, I just want to invite everyone who listens to the podcast, and I hope that's you that's listening right now, because I know you believe that this podcast is awesome, to please tell all your friends and go ahead and rate, review, and subscribe to the CrossGen Podcast. And that way, also, I would invite you to send us an email at thecrossgenpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your comments. Let us know any thoughts that you have. And we might include you on the show. So just remember to leave your name and general geographic location so that when we do reference your email, we know exactly who we're putting over. So, that being said, let's get started, right?
Let's get started.
So, no, it's in if we're doing this Mortal Kombat style, we've got to say fight.
Yes.
No, test your might.
Oh,
Test
your might.
Oh, no, that doesn't even
No,
really.
No,
fight,
fight.
is a better.
Oh my god, we
Okay,
can't
so
figure
here we
something
go.
out.
Ladies and gentlemen, fight.
Oh yeah, and we should have finish him as the
That would be
ending
the
thing.
end.
Yeah, right.
You just gave away the end.
But what would be fatality? We need to have
Fatality is the end of the podcast.
Well, see, we never have a proper ending because as soon as we end it, you guys argue.
and that's why I'm
So-
working on it now.
So now what we'll do is we'll end the podcast proper with finish him, and then when you guys start arguing, fatality, flawless victory.
How does that make sense though?
I have no idea. Let's get started though. Let's talk about the 2020. Oh, should we? Yeah, I think we should start with
Yeah,
the 2021 because that's the thing that's on everybody's minds and whatnot. HBO Max just released on April 23rd their newest incarnation of Mortal Kombat. It stars Joel Talzim as Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
We also have Ludi Liu as Liu Kang, and we have a bunch of other guys. Louis Tan, who plays the, well, in my opinion, forgettable Cole Young.
Cole Young. Yeah.
And so let's talk about that movie in general. Let's see what did you guys think about that movie?
First of all, I want to start with this. I know they wanted to try something different with Cole Young, but I think the way they went about constructing his character is problematic because of this one main thing. The whole driving force behind Scorpion is that he is solely driven by revenge to avenge his family, which was and his clan, who was completely and not one survivor, completely wiped out by Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei.
Yeah.
I think making Cole Young a part of that origin story is a mistake because now we're getting if you want to tell a different story, I get it. It's their property. They want to try something new. Maybe Scorpion isn't a de facto villain at first, but now he's a lot. He's from the jump. He is now a very anti-hero type character. He's not starting out bad and then becoming good. I kind of have a problem with that because I kind of want my my ruthless evil Scorpion.
Yeah. You know, it really didn't fit his character to just.
Well, we're talking about this version of Scorpion, so I guess you could say it did fit his character. But if you compare this to the comics and the games, that's not really how Scorpion works. And I feel that it just wasn't done right with Cole Young too. And I feel that the fact that he was leading everybody. There's a specific scene that I really want to mention of Raiden and Sonya and Jax and the whole nine, right? They're all in this weird voidy thing, right? I think it was because they needed to escape and they were in
It was the one
interdimension
place
thing.
Shang Tsung couldn't get to them.
Yeah, right. And Cole Young just started leading everybody. Like they were all just dumbfounded. They had no idea what to do. They were sitting with and he was just like, "Oh, I have an idea. Let's just go out and I have this super duper cool plan." And Raiden's just like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea." And I feel that him coming up with all the great ideas, it just seemed a little bit weird because Raiden should be the wiser one and he should be. I feel that was a little bit out of place. Or is that just
Here's the thing. I get what you're saying, but it was stated a couple times in the movie. Raiden isn't supposed to be very directly involved with his fighters, even though he did take the time to transport them to this weird realm between realms that kind of breaks
Void.
it. Yeah, but I mean, there's also something else to it. These fighters are gonna have to fend for themselves. If he does everything for them, then they're gonna rely on him. And then when they get to the tournament where he can't even really help them, they're gonna be practically helpless.
Yeah.
So they kind of have to. And since Cole Young is right now the main character, he kind of needed to come into his own.
And hold, I'm sorry I
No.
hijacked it, but here's the other thing: Sonya and Jax. Jax mainly because he was like a major, right? Why wasn't he doing some of the planning too? Because I would figure that he would be the one to understand how to
Tactics.
tactics. He's a tactics
He's
dude.
in the military.
And he had like a freaking Boxster telling him what to do, and it's just so insane, really.
Let me ask you this question: how do you feel about Mortal Kombat talking about a tournament, but the movie not actually showing the tournament at all? What are
I
your thoughts
think
on that?
okay. I think you can do it. I think the way they went about it in this movie was the wrong way to do it. Because what they ended up doing was they basically gave you more or less half the cast of one of the games and chopped off like a quarter to a half of those characters, one of which should not have died that early, and that's Prince Goro.
There's also another one, which is Kung Lao.
No, I disagree.
But okay, we have to get into that some point or another.
Go for it. Do it
We're gonna
now.
do it now.
Do it now.
Do it now. Okay. I felt that yes, because your point was we talked about this earlier, I think a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
Is that he can become a revenant, and that's how you get NetherRealm to build their roster of fighters.
So before you continue, for the people who are not well versed in Mortal Kombat, please explain what a revenant is.
Uh,
I will do that gladly. So before I even get into that, let me just because there's something important that I want to establish. The Mortal Kombat tournament is not only a generally it's been relegated to Outworld and Earthrealm, but it's a tournament between all the realms, and there are 6 realms total,
Oh,
not
6.
total.
Oh, really? I know of the 3.
Yeah.
So
I knew it
I'm
four.
gonna bring it up here. Just give me one second.
So you have
Earth
Earthrealm,
Realm,
right? Then that's
Yeah.
obviously Earth.
NetherRealm,
You have Outworld,
Outworld 2.
right?
Okay.
Which is where Shang Tsung and
Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn, they kind of rule that land, right?
NetherRealm.
Then you have NetherRealm, which is basically kind of their version of Hell, I
It is
guess,
hell,
right?
yeah.
And Chaos Realm.
And
There's
Chaos
Chaos Realm?
Realm is
Okay.
another one. That's
Okay.
one that you generally haven't seen a lot of.
Okay.
It's
So what's that about?
underrepresented. Uh, for the most part, Chaos Realm is it's in the name. It's
Chaos.
Yeah,
Isn't that the one in
it's
like
chaotic.
you know how they have those maps in Mortal Kombat X, and you could like switch it to the red version? That's Chaos Realm.
No, Chaos Realm is a different place altogether.
Oh, okay.
Chaos Realm. I'm gonna cite Mortal Kombat Wiki for this. Chaos Realm is a world where chaos is practiced by its inhabitants as a religion.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Okay, that's interesting.
They have no government, and basically they hold
Makes sense.
absolute freedom in the highest possible way imaginable.
So basically, the
sounds-
United States.
Yeah,
The
basically.
United States on steroids.
Yes,
Yeah.
in not a great
Yeah.
way right now. Well, anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
So that's Chaos Realm, right?
And then there are 2 more that we haven't mentioned. Technically, one of them is part of Outworld now
What?
because remember, Outworld conquers other realms,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
and this realm is Edenia, which is where Queen Sindel and Kitana come from.
Is that where Rain came from too?
I think so. Yes,
Oh, Rain.
Interesting.
Yo, Rain.
they're from the realm of Edenia, which is now because of Shao Kahn part of Outworld.
Okay.
So technically, it's 1, so you won't really count it. The other one, which isn't gonna, there's no point, is Order Realm, which I would imagine is like heaven, where the elder gods reside.
Yeah.
So it's anti Netherworld.
Yes.
yeah.
Netherrealm, I'm sorry.
Well, it's anti
Or anti
chaos
chaos
realm.
realm
Yeah.
also. So it's kind of like an anti for both of them.
And Otherworld and the
Now, are those
weird one.
represented
It's
in the
like-
games that much, or is there kind of like an afterthought in the games?
Never mind what I actually just said. I mean, I had to check myself there because I don't know much about Order Realm. Order Realm is actually the polar opposite of Chaos Realm.
Okay, that makes
Oh, yeah.
sense. Yeah, exactly.
So where they practice the religion of chaos, they practice the religion of order.
Okay, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So again, are these represented in the games? Like
The
the other
only
ones?
one I haven't seen represented in the games is Order Realm.
Which makes
But
sense.
you have seen representatives of Chaos Realm in the past.
Okay.
So how does this relate back to Quan Chi and the whole Revenant thing? Because I
Yeah.
So
what's-
what revenants are, they're Quan Chi, well, this is generally a practice of Quan Chi. Because Netherrealm doesn't have, like, sure, they have their demons and they have Malak, who's a fighter. I think he was in one of the games, but I don't know, he wasn't like a center stage character. They don't have a very full roster aside from having an elder god up their sleeve. So you have Scorpion, but then that's just two people. And of course, you said Malik, but like I said, not a center stage character. So what do? Quan Chi goes, historically, he goes and makes a deal with Raiden because in Mortal Kombat 9, I believe, half of the guys end up dying.
Oh gosh.
And so Raiden goes and tries to make a deal with Quan Chi, but then he reneges on that deal because he made a deal with Shao Kahn.
Okay.
And so basically, he got himself a full roster of of fighters to work with. And basically, what revenants are they're undead.
They're just zombies.
They're not zombies. They're kind of like
They're almost resurrected, but not quite.
they're slaves to Quan Chi's will, more or less.
Uh,
But then it gets to a point where eventually they break off, but that's later down the line.
Okay. So that's what revenants are, right? So the big case here is that Mortal Kombat 2021 kills off almost half the roster that they show in the first place. And I guess Eli's big problem with that is that they killed them off way too early. What's the point if we are just going to be bringing them back as revenants? There is no real, I guess, consequences to dying in the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, because you could just be brought back as a revenant, and I feel that that's totally so weird because I feel that revenants and all that stuff is sort of like an, if I'm gonna compare this to Marvel, of course,
Okay.
but it's sort of like an Age of Ultron event. It's in the middle. It's right smack middle, and then you have the end, which would probably be with Shinnok, right? And I feel that if they have 4 movies, right? 4 movies.
It's supposedly Joe Talcine, the star of the movie, one of the stars of the movies, who plays Sub Zero. He recently mentioned in an interview that he signed on for an additional 4 movies. So
Oh, so
that means that there should be a total of 5 movies if Warner Brothers wants to continue moving forward with the franchise.
yeah. So I feel that killing them off way too early like this is just it's not, it doesn't make any sense because it's just way too early, honestly. And I feel that the second movie is where you should really be setting up that revenant thing. And you have 4 more movies, so you have 2 extra movies.
3
after.
more movies.
Well,
The next movie is 2. There are 3 left.
After that.
wait, so there's
This
6
is the
movies in
first
total.
movie.
It's-
No.
If they do
This
the
is the
next
first
movie,
movie.
then there's 3 after that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, like the next 2 movies.
Oh, the next two movies.
Because the next one after this shouldn't be about revenants. It should be setting up revenants, and then the one after that should be about revenants, and then the ones after that should be about the rest of the storyline. And I feel that that makes. And I know you're the official, more MK expert, but I feel like yes, while revenants are cool and while it is building up their roster, it's being rushed. And I feel that a roster like that, something as big as that, should not be rushed.
So, that being said, what do you guys think of the movie itself? Me personally, and I mentioned this on our other podcast, I thought that first 7 minutes was spectacular. I thought it was a
Yes.
great way to start the movie. And I understand why Warner Brothers chose to release those 7 minutes before the movie came out, because it's a good way to hook people into the story. The problem that I have is that they never went back and lived up to that promise in the rest of the movie, because I thought that the plot was all over the place,
Most of the movie sucks, in my
and
opinion.
which is disappointing, right? Because there is a plethora of lore that they could have grabbed from
Yeah.
with regards to Mortal Kombat. And instead, they chose to kind of abandon that altogether and give us a character that we really didn't ask for and needed in Cole Young. I happen to like the actor that plays him,
Yeah.
Louis Tan, but I think that they shoehorned that character for no reason whatsoever. And if you had taken him out, then maybe you could have had more time to flesh out the story.
And you know,
And so that's why I say it's a little weird for me, the movie. And so I wasn't too um satisfied with it, even though the choreography was great,
Yeah.
even though the fights were great, even though the gore was great, and it was a good, callback to the Mortal Kombat games. But as a movie in total, not the greatest for me. What do you guys think?
I felt that this movie entirely was like basically like rushed and stuff, and you especially see that with characters such as Sonya Blade, Jax Briggs, and Cole Young. And I just really got to make this point, and I know Walt would Walt agrees with me here, right? Um, Cole Young has one of the worst costumes, right?
Okay. I think that, I mean, it's not the.
Horrible costume,
Oh,
I'm not.
disgusting.
I don't know. Like,
Looks like he
it's.
got it from IKEA.
Here's the thing. I know what they were going for. Like, and we again mentioned this on our other podcast. It looked like he had some Black Panther suit style.
because it
It was
absorbs.
styled after it. It looked.
Yeah,
It looked like it had the absorption ability, and then you could release it in like this one huge blast type thing. But I think even with that, it's kind of an original. um, a lot about. I hate to say it. A lot about Cole Young's character kind of fell flat.
really
Like
did.
I get that, family man, cool. Still figuring his way out through this insane universe, cool. But just the way that it doesn't sit right with me as much as I'm trying to like embrace the character, because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like him. I like his background, but just oh well, I like parts of his background. I again don't agree that they should have made him one of what's his name, one of Scorpion's
Scorpion.
descendants. But yeah, going back to the costume, I no, I have to agree. It's not the greatest.
I really want to relate this to a conversation we had. I think it was yesterday. It wasn't that
Okay.
long ago with originality. I know he's rolling his eyes right now because he knows that this is gonna be a little bit longer, but I'm gonna try and make this short, right? I feel that nowadays originality is something that isn't really there. You can disagree with me, and you have your right to your own opinion about that, and I know that's a little bit controversial. And I don't want to take away from any of the movie directors or any writers work, because honestly their work is still good, and that doesn't take away from what they've done with the movies, because what they've done with the movies are good. But originality seems to be something that isn't showing up, and now I start to realize that when people try to do originality nowadays, because way back then you could do originality and it could be pulled off good. I feel like originality isn't necessarily something that's easy to do nowadays.
Yeah, so the point I want to bring up, you're talking about originality. Guess what? Cole Young is originality.
Yes, I
Look
know.
how well that turned out.
But you want to know why? I feel that originality is rushed, and that's why. I think is the main problem. If you don't rush originality, it'll be originality at its finest. Right? Right?
Again,
I
here's the
got you
thing.
there.
Here's the problem, though. The catch 22 with that is if you're working on an established franchise, if you change it way too much, even and again, with originality, you want to find that sweet spot, but it's like you said, it's very hard to do.
And but I don't
So when you go ahead and start changing things and you overstep your changing boundaries, that's only going to create more problems than you already set out, than you already had to begin with.
I don't you know what? I'm going to go back to what I said. I do think that it's sort of hard to do, but I don't think it's that hard to do. I think that it's it's a matter of being rushed. That's it. It's just when you're doing a remake, you need to have space for all the characters, and I feel that if you were to make your own character, you would need to get into their character's development, which is that's the reason why they didn't really pull off Cole Young as well as I mean, we didn't even really need him to begin with. But yeah. It's the writer's story. They have the right to do what they want.
You know what I think would have been cool?
What?
I think what would have been cool, there's a character in one of the older Mortal Kombat games. He was especially in Mortal Kombat 9, actually. There's a character called Stryker, and he's a cop.
Oh, Striker. Wait.
He wears a police cap. He has a blue shirt that basically says police, more or less. He's a cop.
I don't remember.
Me neither. But it's okay.
Okay, my point here being, if you wanted to do an introduction, I think it would have been cool from his standpoint because, hey, that could very easily be Stryker. He's a normal guy. He's a police officer,
Hey,
and then you
Striker.
have
Yeah.
all this weird crap going on, and then you could have someone like Sonya Blade come in and be like, military is going to take over this now. We got this. And then he could be the type to go, oh, well, I can't just drop this. I have to push this a little forward. I got to
Yeah,
keep
but
pushing this.
isn't it like Striker like a side character in the original story? Because I
Okay,
remember
but
his character, right?
as opposed to bringing up someone out of nowhere.
I would have preferred originality because he's a side piece in the
Okay,
original
you got Cole Young.
and I would have much preferred that over Striker because I feel that if you start making a side piece a main character, then that's when things get even more weird.
Well, I think you could have used Striker in kind of the sense that AJ was talking about, that he's kind of like the outsider looking at this tournament, but not an integral piece of it. So he's more kind of like the outsider looking in
Mm,
and seeing what's going on and kind of informing the audience of how this works, as opposed to being an integral part of it, the actual tournament itself.
I don't know.
Exactly. So a very easy way to do this. If you wanted to continue with, we're not going to do the tournament type just yet. He could be the one investigating all these wacky murders.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, here's the thing about that. Cole Young, yes, he isn't needed, but I felt that he could have been a great character. He could have been a great character. And I feel that we just had this conversation, right? With originality. He Originality is rushed in remakes, and I think that's the main problem nowadays. It's not that originality is hard to do. Well, it is in some sense, but it's just rushed, and Cole Young was rushed. If you did his character without rushing it, it would have been perfect.
I just think, and just to put a final point on Cole Young, I think he was completely unnecessary because of the fact that there is a huge roster of Mortal Kombat characters that you could have picked from, instead of
Exactly.
creating a brand new one for the franchise.
Exactly.
So let's talk about, before, because I want to get into the original movie, but before we do, I wanted to talk about what you thought of the characterizations of some of the main characters.
Oh.
Guys like Scorpion, guys like Sub Zero, guys like Goro, Shansung. What did you guys think of them and how this movie treated those characters?
I think we all know which one's gonna go
Well,
for.
I've already said my piece about Scorpion. I just I don't totally agree with the direction they're taking him, but I guess I just have to see how it pans out, cuz I mean it could be that, but then why make him a main character? Like
It's weird how you do that. It's like
the only way I can see him going bad is if Cole Young dies, but you shouldn't. If you put Cole Young at the very center, you can't just make him like that
can't
thing
go
that
wrong.
sends Scorpion off the edge.
Because in that sense, then Scorpion should have been the main character
Yeah,
from the start.
exactly. But okay, that's Scorpion. What do you think about Sub Zero?
Sub Zero. Oh well, Sub Zero actually was well portrayed in this movie. I felt that there wasn't. I felt that there wasn't really anything wrong to his character being portrayed. It was. I wouldn't say it was an A plus because I don't know much about Scorpion Sub Zero, but that whole rivalry with Scorpion, and I felt that Bihan was, and his actor really showed that rivalry there. Um, but that's
Uh,
that's all for Sub Zero basically.
I also like the way that Sub Zero implied that. Ooh, excuse me. When they were fighting at the end and he was killing him, Sub Zero implied that Scorpion was responsible for doing something to the Lin Kuei a little ways back as well. Because at the very end, I don't remember exactly what the comment is, but it's clear that he's run into Hanzo Hasashi before. He makes that much clear. And then at the very end, he gives a particularly weighty for the Lin Kuei.
Well, I don't think. Okay, here's the thing. I don't think that's necessarily because Hanzo Hasashi did something to the Lin Kuei. I just think that it's him. Uh, it's him making his death. I don't know how to explain it. It's him making his death in honor of the Lin Kuei and to keep it living on. And I feel that it wasn't really Hanzo Hasashi doing anything to the Lin Kuei. I felt it was just live forever. Live. I mean,
Mm,
continue on Lin Kuei and something like that.
I have to show you the scene again
I know. I
because I
remember the
think
scene.
even speaking to that, the need to continue it implies that something happened to the Lin Kuei.
So I just want to ask Walt. Basically, what he said was like how the Lin Kuei, right? He said for the Lin Kuei stuff,
Yes, at the
Sub Zero,
very end.
right?
Oh, but
I
there
don't
was
think that was because
yeah,
he.
but
You explain. You explain.
there because I don't remember the exact quote, but as Sub Zero is killing him, he makes this one-off statement, like they've clearly met
Oh,
before.
absolutely. I think that was established in the movie. And so my thing, and I think we talked about this, right? Is that do you I think the movie would have been better served if you started out with that story. You're kind of doing like a you're putting the cart before the horse, and I think it would have been better served to say, you know what, this is Sub Zero, this is Scorpion. They have a clear rivalry because you saw it in those first 7 minutes, and it's kind of like, hinted at throughout the movie. I think Mortal Kombat would have benefited by starting with that point and
Wait,
then building on it all after that, and then introducing the concept of the Mortal Kombat tournament through that vein.
wait. So what do you think about like the Lin Kuei thing? Do you think that from what he meant for the Lin Kuei, right? That was the quote, I believe,
Hmm.
right? Do you think that he meant that Hanzo Hasashi did something to the Lin Kuei
Yeah,
beforehand?
I think not, maybe not necessarily Hanzo's in the specific,
Yeah, I think.
but his clan probably has a huge beef with Sub Zero's clan, and Sub Zero is taking it personally, where it's like, okay, Hanzo, you're part of the Shiryu,
Shirai
Shiryu.
Ryu.
Ryu,
Yeah.
sorry. And so, it's kind of like the thing where it's like, you know what, you're part of that clan, you are my natural sworn enemy, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to destroy the other side. And maybe, like I said, but we don't know because they never
Well,
fleshed that out in the movie.
I mean, the way I saw it is that he was like sort of making his death in honor of the Lin Kuei, so that he could, like, I guess, for it to live forever and stuff like that. His clan to continue on.
Yes, exactly. But when
Yeah.
you deliver it like that, that implies
That
that
there's
there's
beef.
Well, of course there's beef, but I don't think that was meant to say like there was beef and stuff. That's the way I see it. But anyway.
I gotta show you guys the scene again.
I
But
saw the scene.
no, but I'm talking about the specific line I'm
Yeah,
referring to.
yeah, I saw the scene. I literally just recently watched it not too long ago.
Well, I know that. Whatever.
No, like today. What? Forget it. Let's get into Goro.
Yes, Goro is a big point of contention for the crew here, especially in light of the storyline within the video games, but also the 1995 movie itself, if you're going to compare it to, which
Yeah.
we will in a second, because I really want to get into that movie. What did you guys think of Goro's depiction in the 2021 version?
He sucked. It was trash.
Okay.
Like,
He was killed
That's
off.
a good way of putting it, you know?
He was killed off way too early, right?
oh, most definitely. That's the
He,
one death I do not agree with.
yeah, he was kind of like almost a throwaway character if you think
Yeah.
about it, right?
But he's not.
He shouldn't
I
be.
know, and that's the thing that's problematic, because he embodies a much more important role in the Mortal Kombat universe than what was depicted in the 2021 version, right?
Yeah. Just even barring the lore itself, when you played the original Mortal Kombat games, if I remember correctly, Goro is the mini boss right before you fight the main boss, which is Shang Tsung.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be a really, really, really difficult battle.
Mm-hmm.
And even Gabe mentioned it just not too long ago.
In our other podcasts.
He is one of the toughest fighters from the arcade game. To see him relegated to just being like this dumb hulking stooge when he is anything but, it boggles my mind. And he didn't even say anything. he Goro can string sentences. He's not like the Hulk where where he just says like Hulk smash. He he's a prince, for God's sake. He runs the subterranean kingdom of Shokan. They're not idiots.
Yeah, and you know what's even weirder? He didn't even have any cool like trademark attacks or anything. He was just running around and crashing into buildings and stuff.
Well, the reason why is because he was fighting Cole Young. I guarantee you, if he was fighting anyone else, you would have
Yeah.
definitely seen a fatality. But you can't fatality the main character.
And I want to relate this back to the original, because the original we really saw some crazy attacks from Goro. I mean, for God's sakes, we had a scene where he was just all he was doing was just throwing people around. You just saw like 1,000 people, and it was for like a minute straight, right? And I felt that that wasn't what we got, and I felt that that
At
wasn't
all.
what we were. It was what we were expecting, and we got so disappointed in that.
So let's that's a perfect segue into the 1995
Yeah.
movie adaptation. And so I know we haven't gotten to Shang Tsung, but I think we can kind of wrap that in with the 95 version. Let's talk about that version, because that version we saw it right after, again we
Yeah.
rewatched it right after we saw it, the 2021 version. We literally took a day to digest 2021, and then they said, you know what, for the purposes of this podcast and just for our own, you know,
Yeah.
fun, let's rewatch the old one, right? The old one got a lot of crap for
I don't know why.
what it was. And yeah, you're right. And I don't know if it's because we watched 2021 before we watched the
Yeah.
1995, but I have a different perspective on that original adaptation.
Yeah, right? It's weird.
Because as convoluted as the plot was for 2021, I found, and maybe it's just me, but I found that the 1995 did a really, really good job of putting those plot elements in a cohesive and thoughtful way. You know, as thoughtful as you can make a modern combat plot, right? But at least the plot made sense in the vein of what they were trying to do. Now, granted, 1995, and Eli, you can talk about this.
Yeah.
The special effects,
effects
were not the greatest. It doesn't live up well to our times now,
Yeah.
and the choreography,
Oh,
again, not as good as we get now. But of course, you know, actors nowadays, and not to diminish the acting back then, but actors nowadays really, you know, have a commitment to try and, you know, showcase some of their talents. And one of the things that the 2021 did, which I appreciated, was that a lot of the actors learned martial arts if they didn't know it already for the movie. Like, for example, Melina, she had 5 months of intensive
Damn.
training. The actress that played Melina in the 2021 version, 5 months of really intense training to prepare for her fighting choreography in the movie. That's not something that back in 1995 they did a lot.
Yeah.
You know, if you knew martial arts, great. If you didn't, we'll find a way to make you look good on camera and stuff. And it showed in the 1995 version. There were some fights that were really, really good,
Yeah.
and then there were some fights that were just straight up horrible. And I'm talking to you, Liu Kang versus Katana. You know, but like I said, I thought that the 95 version did a better job with the plot than the 2021 version. What did you guys think about the original?
I think that the original it certainly has its high points. I cannot say the same for the second movie. I really can't. And I haven't even seen the third one, and I actually really want to see that now. Um, I think that with the first movie, there were some. There were definitely, it was a lot, like Walt said, it was very cohesive, but even then there were some holes, like well, I mean, actually now looking back at it, the in the original, Shang Tsung had this completely weird or odd fixation with Sonya Blade. But now that I'm looking back at it in retrospect, it actually speaks to the planning and preparation of that iteration of Shang Tsung,
Yeah.
because he eventually used it to his advantage,
Shang
which is
Tsung-
one thing I did not notice until it actually, like, it really hit me there, like, oh, so that's why he had, that's basically his ace in the hole.
Hmm.
But it's because what ends up happening is, yes, there are some wins for Earthrealm. There are more wins for Outworld. But eventually, once he sends out Goro, he's like, okay, well, this is gonna be it. No one beats Goro. Come on. But then Johnny Cage beats Goro, or rather, he wants to fight Goro, and he figures, oh, well, jack crap is going to happen. So I'll entertain this. But here's one thing I do want you to do. If I allow you to fight Goro now, then I get to fight whoever I want for the last match. And the reason why he picks Sonya Blade is because she wasn't going to win that fight against him. And so upon seeing that, I was like, huh, okay, so maybe this isn't as terrible as I thought it was.
I
Revisiting it.
I feel that the older movies aren't really given credit as much credit as it's due, because the first thing you see when you watch Mortal Kombat, the first thing that comes into mind is that it's an older movie. And I don't think that really, it doesn't really pop into your head that this is an actual video game adaptation of a movie. And it's just like so mind-boggling, because it's it's a really damn well it's a really good video game adaptation of a movie, but it's not given credit. And I feel that, I mean, for example, Shang Tsung, yes, he was a little bit cringy and cliche, right? And
Over the
all of
top.
that. He was over the top, right?
Over the top, yes. Cringy, I
That
heartily
was
disagree
cringy.
with you.
He was cringy.
I don't care.
What
I
the-
disagree with you.
You are mine.
That is the
You
best.
are mine.
That is the best part.
And that's what it makes you cringe, though, right?
it makes you cringe,
But it's cringy.
not to me.
It's cringy, but it's sort of funny. But Shang Tsung, I mean, he probably had a better. This was probably a better Shang Tsung than 2021, right? I'd have to say.
Well,
I think what you the issue is that the actor that played the Shang Tsung in the original 1995 version, um not that he understood the character, but he played it with gleeful over the topness, you know. And I think he did it really really well. I think the 2021 version of Shang Tsung was more subdued. He didn't have as much to do. It was more the focus on the fighters and the fighting, and so those character studies in the 21 version were kind of pushed aside for the action, whereas the 95 version, you had a little more interplay with the characters, which
Yeah.
again, better plot, right? So I think that's the reason why.
Because it wasn't really even rushed, that movie, at least from what I saw, the original 1995, because they actually took the time to, oh, this character, I guess, uh, but yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't rushed, and characters actually they took the time to really flesh out characters, such as Shang Tsung, who like you said, planned out things.
Johnny
Cage, who was
watching
like,
his
yeah,
transformation.
Johnny Cage like really started to get serious near the Goro fight, right?
Hmm.
Liu Kang really started to learn about things, even though he didn't really have the best character development, in my opinion. Raiden was just like
Yeah.
there. I mean, he reminds me of like one of those weird those lead singers in rock bands that sing about Christianity and Nirvana, right? Like Creed.
Hmm.
But yeah, honestly, I feel that there was a lot more character development there.
So let me ask this question.
Well-
In terms of plot, do you find it interesting that the 21 version, with all the lore that it had available to it, kind of didn't lean on that, whereas the 95 version, which was still done in an age where Mortal Kombat was really just starting, but yet, what do you find that the 95 version is more faithful to the storyline that's presented in the video games?
Here's the thing. Both of these movies betray the lore in places.
Wow, really?
Because, first of all, Sub-Zero and Scorpion
Oh yeah.
Unless they had their redemptive arc, there was no way they were ever going to work together. Now, and I
Yeah.
guess that speaks to Shang Tsung's power, but that was still not no.
So you're referring to the 95 movie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Going a little further, the Sonya in the new, you know what? Actually, in the newer one, Sonya Blade's relationship with Kano, um, yes, you had that antagonism there, that she's been chasing him for some time, but it didn't have the same depth because Kano wasn't he wasn't the same, because the most consistent stories about him have him being pitted against Sonya because he kills her partner, and that
Hmm.
sets her on the path to just like hell blaze her way towards him.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really have that here, and that was a little, I guess, from my standpoint, that's what kind of made Sonya's character fall a little flat, because she
Yeah. She
had
was.
no real passion. It was more like, hey, this tournament stuff sounds interesting. I want to learn more about it. And that's okay, but you're also taking away from, you know, part of what makes her so fiery.
they, they took away from her character a lot. I mean, for God's sakes, when she okay, here's another thing that I hated in 2021, how they gained their powers, which was Arcana. Basically, if you killed somebody who had the mark, or if you were born with the mark, you were chosen for the tournament, and you had powers. So it was like so stupid to me that they did it because, as you said, that wasn't even. I mean, as you said before, that wasn't even faithful, really.
There is some precedent,
With
but only in the very loosest sense. The mark, no, there is no precedent for that.
I know that Johnny Cage gained powers, right?
Yes, he did. That was in MK10. Uh, I don't. I Really looking back at it now, I really don't like the. I mean, I see. Here's the thing. I'm torn. I like that they're changing it up a little bit, but at the same time, part of the allure of like the Mortal Kombat tournament is anyone can participate if they A have the guts and B have the skill. And not everyone had the same skill sets or even tool sets. And that's what made them interesting fighters. But now you're giving them relatively all the same toolkits. And it takes away from that diversity. Like Kano, for instance, he's supposed to have a technological laser eye.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, he just has a laser eye, not mechanical whatsoever. It
Yeah.
was his power. Sonya, she typically has arm wrist blasters, and that's the origin of the that purple attack.
Mm-hmm.
It's now just kind of like a sonic boom she can fire. Again,
It's like
it takes away the diversity from it. Like, there are some people who I would prefer stick to the techie stuff, and some people who should still be very much mired in that fantasy aspect.
and you know what's even worse? Sonya Blade, you had all these other characters who had their chance to shine with their powers, right? Kano finally learned how to use the laser side, which was very controversial because of how he learned that and all of that, right? And what's his name?
Which one?
Something Young.
Cole Young.
Cole
Cole
Young.
Young, right? Cole Young, he got his chance to shine against Gore, right? Sonya Blade, she was just all she did was kill Kano and look, I have powers.
Well, she also killed Melina.
She also killed Melina, but like it's like, look, I have powers, and she doesn't proceed to use them at all, except for once or twice, right?
Well, the only reason why they never really got to show more was because Sub Zero separated them.
I don't know. I just
So let me ask this question then. We've all stated that the mark is the one that kind of gives you powers, right? in a sense.
in a sense.
In
It
a sense.
it allows you to bring the powers out.
What exactly is Jax's power then?
It looks like his power is uh oh god,
Oh,
metallokinesis or something like that.
so he has the power to reshape metal and stuff like that, because that wasn't really clear to me, because you had the scene where he fought Sub-Zero in the 2021 version, right? And he clearly loses his arms, which is kind of cool the way they did it, right?
Yeah.
And definitely within the character. But then they give him, he goes to Outworld and they give him the most flimsiest arms in like the history of. I mean,
Well, to be fair,
C3PO had better arms in
Yeah,
the prequels
that's-
than he did.
That's
to
no
be
lie.
fair, as as good, I'm sure. Like I don't want to give into that stereotype. Oh, they're monks. They're not going to know much. They clearly had some technological
Mhm.
expertise, but it wasn't enough to give him the full upgrade.
So then I guess the power that he has is to be the ability to give himself the upgrade, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
That's a little weird.
It's so I think that's why, you know, we have a lot of problems with this new version, is because some of the things aren't really thought out all that well, right?
Yeah, just the way they go about developing this is it's awkward.
So
Very.
let's look at the differences in terms of ratings with the old version and the new version, because I find this super interesting. The 95 version has a Rotten Tomato score of 44%, right? But the Metacritic, so it's, let me explain to our listeners the difference between Rotten Tomato scores and Metacritic scores. Rotten Tomato scores are not indicative of how well the movie does. It's indicative of the amount of positive reviews you get. So if the movie is reviewed positively 6 out of 10 times, it gets a 60%,
Hmm.
regardless of what the rating is. So you can have a rating of like 50% and then like 5 ratings of 0, which brings the actual average down. But because it had more positive ratings, it's rated at a higher rate. Metacritic is more reflective of what people think, because they take the average of the rating. So if you have a 70%, a 70%, you know, it'll come out 70, and they give you the average. So in this one, there was 44% Rotten Tomatoes, which means 44% of the reviewers thought that it was a positive movie. The Metacritic score was 60%, which means the fans liked it much more. Okay, fans and you know, reviewers as so as an average 60%. You know, it was relatively well viewed, right? The new version, however, and this is what I find interesting, the Rotten Tomato score is 55%.
So it's better.
Right. So more people reviewed it positively. However, the Metacritic
Yo.
score is lower,
How low?
44%.
Whoa, that's
It's
So
like a
people are
reversal.
giving it basically
That's
a 4
weird.
out of 10, right?
Yeah.
So the first movie, the Rotten Tomato score was less, but it seems like critics and fans liked the movie more as a whole. But the new version, it was it had more positive reviews, but the critics and fans liked it less,
Yeah.
which is weird, right?
Yeah, and I think it speaks to that lore disconnect because especially now the lore is like way more expanded than back then. So you can't really make that basis. Oh, they don't have a lot of material to work off of. They have so much material
Yeah.
to work off of.
So let's talk about the lore, because I think that's a thing that really has separated Mortal Kombat from maybe other fighting games, right? Um, at the beginning, the lore was kind of hinted at, where like Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, you had a semblance of a story mode, right?
Yeah.
But when did the lore really start getting fleshed out in the video games to the point where we're at Mortal Kombat 11 and it's like, it's almost a movie in of itself, the amount of, storyline that there is in the video games.
Well, I can't speak to this very well because most of my knowledge is relegated towards 9, 10, and 11. But if I had to start somewhere, I'd probably go with Mortal Kombat Deception. Maybe
Hmm.
that to my knowledge,
Okay.
because that's where you start looking more at oh, well, who's the guy behind Shang Tsung? Is there a guy behind Shang Tsung? Oh, and there's technically another guy even behind Shao Kahn, like way, way back then, because they, like I said in the oh god, I'm blanking, the check it, not the check in, god,
Check-in?
the the mic check.
The mic check.
There was a ruler even before Shao Kahn, and his name is Onaga.
Oh, Onaga. That's
And I find it
okay.
interesting that in the lore, Shao Kahn decides not to fight him outright. He decides to poison him.
Oh.
It's so that he can take the throne.
Shao Kahn is just damn.
But you know why? That's because he was afraid to fight him. That's how strong he was. And just to give you an idea of how strong he was, according to the wiki, in he's regarded as basically the mouthpiece of the one being. And the one being is an entity that the elder gods basically chopped up to use to create the six realms. So you see stuff like that. That's where deception kind of like goes over and above with this stuff, where it kind of starts.
Okay.
I felt that honestly, all of this lore, I don't understand it, right? But here's one thing I do know, right? There's too much fan service for the 2021 movie, and I think that's what the 1995 did better.
Fan service?
Fan service for the new movie, of course.
Little Easter eggs here,
Easter eggs.
dropped
The
and stuff like
okay,
that.
we literally just talked about this. The
I
amulet of
mean,
Shinnok. It was shown there. That was insane. You can't just show something like that and just as a pass by because that represents the entire rest of the plot.
okay, well, yes, there is that.
Bo Raicho, I believe he does play a huge part in the Mortal Kombat lore, right?
I mean, he trains a lot of the White Lotus fighters,
Yeah, White
but
Lotus. Oh,
um,
because I remember meeting a comic book and he was actually pretty important in that.
well, he was
Maybe it was
important in
just-
that he guarded the Jinsei, which is basically like Earth's life force.
Oh yeah, so then it's probably that. But like there's so many Easter eggs here and there that you won't understand unless you're a fan. And then not even just that. They did most of these fan service wrong because you had like Cabal come in and like I felt that was completely unnecessary with characters such as that who nobody would know.
Well, see, here's why I think that they should have used they shouldn't have used as many characters as they should have.
Yeah.
They should have taken the time to maybe follow 4 or 5, not like 11 or 12. Maybe 4 just to make it perfect.
Yeah.
You have one guy going after them and 3 people on the defense. You follow those 3, you develop them, then you move on. They used too many, they had a juggling problem. And I think that's where the movie starts to suffer, because you're adding in all these cool little things. You had an allusion to Nightwolf. You had an allusion to the Amulet of Shinnok. You had an allusion to
Raicho.
Bo Raicho. And
Those
again,
murals on the wall
yeah,
we saw.
Yeah.
There was even a reference to the ancestor Kung Lao, I think, too.
Mhm.
Like, again, I think that would have been served. I mean, maybe there's setting up origin stories there, but honestly, those origin stories should have come first to set up the idea, like you said, of the Mortal Kombat tournament. And then you can start doing what you did here. But even what they did there was. Yeah.
And the 1995 version, there wasn't one character that wasn't basically non-explained. Like you basically got some sort of like a little bit of a summary of each character's backstory. I mean, Shao Kahn at the very beginning, yes, he was shown, but like then Raiden started to explain him. So there wasn't any character that was left out or anything important that was really left out. From
Yeah,
what
they
I
took
believe,
the
right?
time to explain.
Yeah, and
They
I
didn't
feel
just
that.
throw things in your face.
Yeah, and that's not something that the 2021 did at all.
Like, I appreciate them, but looking back at it, it would have been nice if, like, they toss around that amulet casually. That's
Yeah.
supposed to house an elder god.
And that's why I'm saying it shouldn't have served a purpose as an Easter egg. That's not something you just pass by.
Like, that should have been that's like an Infinity Gauntlet
Yes, that's
Easter
not
egg.
something you just it was literally out in the open. Like he just picked it up like it was nothing.
Yeah.
It's a freaking amulet of Shinnok. Ah.
I mean, unless they're gonna change it up, I think that's kind of a crappy move to pull.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry.
So I get the sense that if we put, and tell me if I'm wrong with this, if we had taken the 95 movie and used the storyline from that, but then blended it in with the choreography, the fight scenes, and things of that nature with the new movie, would you get something close to a perfect Mortal Kombat movie right there?
That
Yes.
much closer, yes.
Okay.
I'd give that like probably a 9 out of 10 with really good special effects, better costumes, better set if you really want to, and like better choreography.
So which one, that being said, which one, if you had a choice between watching both of these and knowing the lore the way that you guys do, which one did a better job of expressing a Mortal Kombat experience? I'm not even talking about stories. I'm not even talking about fights. I'm talking about the overall Mortal Kombat feel that you get from the games. Which one of these two gave you a better Mortal Kombat experience?
Surprising.
I'm
Oh, wait, you
sad
go?
to say that the 95 version
Yeah.
does that better.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I know this was supposed to be like the Messiah movie that finally corrects everything and puts it straight, but it doesn't really do that. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
And look, Mortal Kombat's gore doesn't describe Mortal Kombat, and I think that's like a really misconception of Mortal Kombat movies and all of that because they really try and focus on the gore and the violence more than just the actual story. And I think that 95 didn't even really have any gore. It was like very
Okay, well,
very
yes,
was a
there
different
is
time.
that.
it was a different time, right?
Yeah, it was
And
a
yet
different time.
and that's why I love it so much because it didn't even have to use the gore that Mortal Kombat games show to actually express that it was a Mortal Kombat movie.
That's an interesting point that you bring out because I think one of the things that people were excited about with the 2021 version was the fact that you're going to be able to see the fatalities and
Yeah.
the brutal, gory fashion that the video games do. But yet, here you are being a fan of those video games and saying that the 95 version, which showed practically no gore at all. I mean, the most that they did was when they first introduced Sub Zero and he froze that guy and his head like fell off
Oh,
and stuff like that. I think
yeah.
that's about the goriest thing that we got out of that.
Definitely.
Technically, you got Scorpion too, even though he was a skeleton and it was a lot of
True.
magma.
Well,
Yeah. But I guess the point that I'm making is that you actually like the version that had almost no gore and thought that that was more faithful than the one that literally showed like Kung Lao cut a person in half.
He used
That's-
buzzsaw.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I find that interesting.
That's disappointing about the 2021, really.
So, what do you think happens with Mortal Kombat going forward? I mean, Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 11 as a video game is still chugging along pretty good. They're dropping DLCs all the time. I think the latest one had Rambo in it
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. So they're dropping, Rambo, Joker, Terminator was there at one point. Harley Quinn, I believe, was
No,
one of.
Joker,
I don't
I
think
believe.
so.
No, okay, maybe I'm confusing it.
They
But
had Dark Side.
Dark
What
Side,
about Joker?
Yeah, they had
Joker?
Joker too, but
Yeah.
they also had Dark Side.
Oh.
And they also introduced 95 versions of the characters as well, right? As DLC.
Oh, and they had RoboCop. Don't forget
RoboCop.
RoboCop.
So on the video game side, Mortal Kombat is still going on strong. What do you think happens going forward with the WB version? Do you think we actually do get these 4 extra movies, or do you think this movie franchise is kind of dead on arrival?
Oh, so it wasn't confirmed.
No,
No.
I think what WB is doing, very much like Godzilla versus Kong, is that they're waiting to see the reaction of the fans to see if they greenlight further movies. On the Godzilla versus Kong front, it looks positive because Godzilla has been making a lot of money, and so that might be a franchise that gets extended.
Continue the MonsterVerse.
There you go. But I'm not so sure about Mortal Kombat.
Well, what does it gross?
Well, right now we don't know because it just came out this past Friday.
Score is 9 million opening day.
So
That's not terrible.
Wait, is that? I don't.
here's the
Yeah,
thing.
I'm pretty sure.
If they really want to succeed, I really think they need to take the time to go into the lore and not just make it like these one-off cameos. They need to take the time to explain and show and put it out there. And I think if they do make the second movie, I think you got to give this movie a shot because it tried to do what it wanted to do, but now it's up to the second movie to really set the record straight. Is it going to fail or succeed?
Do you like the actors that they put in place for these characters?
Yeah,
Yeah, of
Is
course.
I
there,
do.
is there like one guy that you think is totally out of place that shouldn't be there?
No,
No,
not really.
So they're pretty good
they are good.
depictions, right?
Yes.
It's just the story that kind of throws everything off.
Yeah. They really have to hit that note by the second movie.
Well-
If they don't, then yes, I'd say this is not going to be a venture they pursue any further.
Is the first movie that what's the word that I'm looking for? Is the first movie that much of a departure that it's kind of hard to bring it back to center for the second one?
It's not that hard. No, I don't think it's that much of a departure. They just need to recenter is all I think. Because I mean, sure, we kind of now have to deal with the whole marking situation, but as long as you can still deliver on the other aspects of the lore, I think you can make it work. I really do.
As long as WB's making money, they'll sure as hell go for another movie. Because honestly, that's the only. I think that's. Well, yes, it is one of the main reasons why a lot of movies are failing today. It's only about the money. Because 95, they sorta actually put in more work just to make, not just to make money, but just to make an actual good movie that any person or like any family would enjoy on a couch, right? And I have a feeling the next movie isn't going to get any better. And the movies after that, unfortunately, and I know that's very disappointing. And I don't mean to get any people's hopes down, whoever's listening to this, but unfortunately, it seems like that's where it's going because they already started off bad, and I can't really see how they're gonna go about all of this without rushing it.
I mean, it's not unsalvageable.
It's not
though.
unsalvageable, but it's definitely not on the path to getting better, at least from what I think.
Okay, so that's the film franchise. Let's talk about the video game franchise.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Mortal Kombat 11 came out in 2019, and we've had DLCs up the yin yang, not to put a finer point on it, that, in my opinion, have enhanced the game. I mean, do you agree with that?
Unfortunately, I haven't because I'm still trying to play through the story mode, and I just haven't like had the chance really. But from what I've seen so far, even barring the downloads, I still think narratively they're going to interesting places. Like I just read the wiki and it was kind of a spoiler, but oh, whatever. So I like where they're going, sort of. But even as far as the downloads go, I think it's not the downloads aren't like such a detriment to the. That's what Mortal Kombat does really well. The downloads are purely if you want it, you can get it. You don't need the game to. You don't need the. You absolutely don't need them to play it. They're just these really cool things like, hey, you want to play Rambo in the game? Download this download. And it's like, ooh, I want to play Rambo in the game. That's worth my money. And you know what? Guess what? It is actually worth your money.
Yeah, a lot of these things are. Um,
We're talking about not just the story, right?
No,
wanted to
I
make
just I mentioned the story for a little bit, but he was asking about the downloads.
Oh, so about I'm just gonna put out everything, right?
Okay.
Right? We kind of sort of talked about this not too long ago. If you really think about it, in another episode, right? I think it was Console Wars. We
Okay.
sort of went over this, but okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. Mortal Kombat is an awesome game. It is a legendary game, and a lot of the stuff that they put out is enjoyable. I'm sure many of the fans love playing it still. Esports actually holds tournaments for
Their
Mortal
esports
Kombat.
community is thriving.
Yeah, their esports community is thriving, just as you said it, right? And I think that Mortal Kombat is going to places and will continue to go to places. However, here's the thing that I seem to notice with Mortal Kombat, and especially in these last few games, it seems to be like it's just redoing reruns of, and I get it, it's the genre of the game. It's a fighting style game, but I feel that it could be changed a little bit, in
Okay.
my opinion,
How
right?
much? What are you gonna? What?
Wait,
Hold on.
hold on.
So before we continue, I want to get your reaction to this, and it's rumor, hasn't been confirmed as yet,
Oh, geez. What is
but
this?
there is a strong sense that Mortal Kombat will come back to consoles by 2023 in April. Mortal Kombat 12, wait for it,
Oh,
Onaga's Revenge.
Oh, okay. Forget what I said. They're
Oh
going places.
no!
They are so going places.
So
Forget it.
again,
Forget it.
this is an unconfirmed rumor, but there are certain sites out there that are referencing this. NetherRealms has not officially announced it. There's a thought that maybe this October they will. But what are your thoughts if this is an actual thing?
Oh god!
Oh,
So, oh
Discuss.
man, that is gonna. Oh wow! Like, in terms of the story, now, oh my god, now I have to get to the end of 11 because I feel like because what I learned recently, just reading on the Wikipedia, it kind of gave me like a oh, so they were kind of re-exploring their past, and now it's like now that you bring up the Onaga, it's like oh my god, yes, oh my
yo, frick.
oh man. I I have to play through to the end now. I have to. Like
So, like I said, it's an unconfirmed rumor, but if you go on the internet, especially on fan sites like Fandom, that has an entire wiki page on uh, Mortal Kombat 12. I mean, what? How do you think the story can progress from what you've known so far, and how do you think that this can be the next iteration? And mind I ask, if you go on Reddit, a lot of people are speculating this might be the last version
Yeah.
of
That
Mortal
would make
Kombat.
sense because Onaga is basically like a be all end all type
Yeah.
villain. Like Shinnok is pretty big, no doubt, but this, like I told you guys before, this dude has been regarded as the mouthpiece of the one being.
Yeah, bro.
And especially with all
Oh.
this crap Chronica's been doing, because as far as I know from the 11 story mode, she's trying to reset things. And part of probably resetting things is messing with the fact that certain people are dead and not dead, and defeated and not defeated.
Mm.
Onaga was defeated in previous games, but her messing with crap could very easily undo that.
Oh, frick.
And
Yo.
and since she wants to bring everything back to the way it was, it would make sense too if you get who's probably living uh the living embodiment, more or less, of the one being. Oh my
Bro, I don't know
god.
much about the story, but I know this. Onaga, I mean, from the looks of him, he seems to be bad A, right? And honestly, yo, I can't wait for this because but I gotta play through the story though. That sucks though. And you know what else sucks? I'm sad that this is the last Mortal Kombat game. And I know it's been a
Well,
long run.
actually, I think that
They-
I think it be fitting if it ends this way.
Yeah, but I don't
You
know.
could still have other games. Like
Well, yeah.
this can also speak to your changing things up, cuz now they don't necessarily have to follow the uh two characters on the other end of the game format. You can start releasing single story campaigns
Yeah.
like Scorpion's backstory.
Yo, yeah, I was thinking that
This
too, right?
Mortal Kombat, where they explore Outworld and Shao Kahn conquering like Edenia.
Yeah.
You could do things like that that don't necessarily have to be the arcade style one-on-one. You could start doing the different stuff now that they're ending this chapter of Mortal Kombat.
I know. I sound like a hypocrite right now, right? But right as I was saying that they need to change things up, now I'm missing the old ways, right? It's just so it's mind-boggling.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
What? What? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Because, but even still, I can't wait for them to take the Mortal Kombat franchise places because yo, this is what I've been wanting for a while. I don't know too much about Mortal Kombat, but this is something that I definitely think would fit into the franchise. A samurai style game. I don't remember what that game was called. What was that game that Walt used to play?
Ghost of Tsushima.
No, not Ghost.
Bushido Blade.
Bushido Blade, a game that's sort of styled like that with Scorpion or Hanzo Hasashi and Sub Zero in the olden days, and then you could progress through their journey, sort of like their rivalry over the years, sort of as like a
Well, I
nostalgia
mean,
thing
Sub
for
Zero isn't that
us.
old.
Well, yeah, but like they had their days, right?
Well,
Back in
yes,
like
but
the
no, they're not like ancient times
obviously
types.
not ancient times.
Can
but
I throw a wild idea out there and see what you guys think? A Mortal Kombat RPG.
Oh
Well,
my
yeah,
gosh!
that's basically what by ending the arcade style, you can go into things like that.
Well, wouldn't that be too much like Doom? Because that's the first
No,
thing that pops up
because
into my head.
you know what it'll be like? It'll be like Skyrim, where you could
Oh
choose
yeah.
which realm you're from, make a character, and basically wade through the world of Mortal Kombat.
Imagine
That'd be pretty sick.
what if yo, this is a very, very crazy idea. Crazier than what Walt just said. A Quan Chi horror game. Revenants.
You're stuck in
That's
NetherRealm and you have to get out. Oh, that's
that's
pretty
gonna be
cool.
insane.
There's a number of ways that you can take the Mortal Kombat universe if Mortal Kombat 12 is the last iteration.
Bro, NetherRealm better be listening right now. They better be listening, bro. And I don't if you are listening, please don't end the franchise. Yes, there are 12 games, but like this is a legendary game and I don't think it deserves to come to an end very soon. This soon, right?
Me personally, I would love to see an
Uh,
RPG. There was an RPG before that was made by BioWare called Jade Empire. And in that one it was literally about martial arts and stuff. And so I see a way where you can like AJ said, you can create a character and live within the realm of Mortal Kombat where you're basically a character that's kind of going and reliving the 10 tournaments throughout, you know.
Well, I wasn't even thinking necessarily that. Because you know how Mortal Kombat 10, that doesn't necessarily revolve around a tournament. That's just what happened after the 10th tournament
Hmm.
and following what happened after Shinnok invaded.
Hmm.
You could basically be in a time like that where, oh, well, you can make a decision that accidentally pisses off Onaga in his
Yo,
sleep. Or you could join the Lin Kuei and start up beef with the Shirai Ryu again.
yo,
Like stuff like that.
get this. Not an RPG game. I don't know what it would be. Maybe third person. I don't know. But like, what's this dude's name? He's in Mortal Kombat X. The cowboy,
Aaron Black,
Aaron Black. You could have a Wild West themed in the other world, right?
Outworld.
Outworld, Wild West, Aaron Black. My guy, that sounds freaking amazing, bro.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh, there's so many
But to your
possibilities.
point about whether they should end it or not, honestly, I kind of think they should,
Well,
because it's
for-
like you said, at some point they're going to start recycling stories.
well, no, I'm talking about the whole franchise as a whole. Like you could
No,
still
I
have
think they're just
spin-off.
ending this run,
Yeah, I know.
this run of the games,
they can-
not period.
They could end this run of the game, but I'm talking about like the whole franchise, the whole MK universe. They shouldn't end that. I feel like at least come out with a few more spin-off games, right? Or like a spin-off game or
Well,
so.
basically all the stuff we've been talking
Yeah,
about.
all the stuff that we've been talking about. But let's just hope that they don't end the MK universe.
No, they wouldn't let a cash cow like that go.
I don't know.
That's
Alright.
like saying they're going to discontinue Halo.
Well, NetherRealm seems to be the type of company that doesn't go for the money necessarily.
Well, I mean, yes, there's that, but like again, that's like canceling Halo. You don't just up and decide to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do we want to give ratings on the movies?
Sure.
Oh shoot.
So let's start with, which one do we start with?
I think we should start with 2021.
All right, let's go.
Actually, you know what? 95.
Yeah, we want to save the worst for last.
Ouch.
All righty then.
Okay.
Okay, so 1995, I give that movie a solid 7.5, 7 in
Yeah.
that realm. I think the plot line was pretty good, especially in retrospect. I think the special effects, especially now, are a little bit wanting and stuff. Fight choreography, not the best, but again, it gave you a better sense of what Mortal Kombat really should be. And we get the tournament actually in that movie, you know? So I'll give it a 7. I think it rates a solid 7. You know what? I'm gonna give the 2021 rating as well. That way
Okay.
we-
Yeah,
let's do
that's
that.
that's
Yeah,
actually how I was imagining
I
that.
think that's what I want to do. So, with the Mortal Kombat movie, I think in relative terms to the 95 original adaptation, far superior in terms of choreography, obviously in special effects, but the plot is lacking. The characters there's too many characters trying to serve one plot. And so for that, I'll give that one a 6. It's an enjoyable movie because of the fights, but a lot of the plot didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'll give the Mortal Kombat a 7 and the newer one a 6. What do you guys think? AJ?
So okay. The 95, I'm actually going to give that a 7.5. And again, for a lot of the same reasons you said. M- Uh, in a sense, it's a little truer to Mortal Kombat than the newer one, but only in some respects. It had a more solid storyline. as flimsy as even that one is. And just I had a I had a much better I had a bigger blast watching that one, honestly,
Yeah.
like just Shang Tsung eats up the screen in that movie. Your
Yeah.
soul is mine.
Yeah.
While
You gotta
looking
love
directly at the camera,
Yeah.
right?
it's great. There's no other word for it. And just again, they took the time to actually follow the characters, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what reservations and whatnot that they have, their motivations. Like, it just did a better job overall. So that's why I give that a 7.5. On the flip side, with 2021, again, like you said, better choreography. You got the gore. God, I loved when he did the buzzsaw. That was so awesome. Um, but again, the some characters dying when they shouldn't have. Although some, again, I can see why they're doing it and what they might be setting up. But Goro, just, no, that was a horrible
It was
move.
unacceptable.
Yeah, just the way they handled him was criminal. Um, just like, and then the whole situation with the mark. Like, again, I know you want to change it up, but like, I don't know. To me, that was in like poor taste, especially going in with the notion that everyone has something different to bring to the fight. If everyone now has the same thing to bring to the fight, I mean, yes, there's still variation, but how much variation is there truly? Like, I feel like that took away from that. And so I'm going to give 2021 a 7
Wow, that's.
Okay.
I'm honestly surprised.
because, again, while I did enjoy it, now that I'm looking back on it, I kind of feel it's odd that I like the version that's supposedly supposed to be the worst one, as opposed to the newer one, which is supposed to be directly influenced by the guys that oversee the game. Like, for this one, Ed Boon was directly involved, so I'm kind of trying to figure out
Which is
what
crazy if
what
you think
really
about it.
happened here.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
And so I'm kind of like with you because my regular rating is higher for the 2021, but when I put it in relation to the 1995, it takes a hit just because of those reasons, right?
Yeah,
So, I have two different ratings when it comes to 2021. If I'm just rating it alone, I rate it a little bit higher because it was enjoyable.
yeah.
But when I rate it against the 1995, I can't give it the same rating because there is clearly a difference. Eli, um, I'm
Oh
I'm
God,
you
here
are
I'm
we go.
you are notorious with your ratings and
yeah.
the savagery
This
that you
one
have with rating stuff. So
this one is gonna be
you're going to this is going to be uh, a fatality
yes.
in
Some one
terms of
movie.
ratings.
It's one movie.
All right, Eli,
Ready?
finish him.
That was perfect timing there, right? Um, the 1995 movie. There's no other words to say for it. It's iconic. The storyline was great. I don't think it got the credit it deserved. I mean, for a video game adaptation, that was practically perfect. Other than its corniness and all that, right? But Shang Tsung was awesome. The villains were portrayed well. Scorpion and Sub Zero, I mean, yeah, they were just side pieces in this movie. I don't really get that, but it's what it is, right? 2021 movie, absolutely horrible. It's horrendous. I don't want to watch the movie again. Goro, he sucked. Kung Lao, he died so easily. Jax Briggs wasn't even there for most of the movie.
Well, To be fair, the person he ended up dying to, it's not.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, Sonya Blade. Just no words to describe than just dull and boring. Kano.
Can I actually just say Kano was surprisingly enjoyable in this
He
movie.
okay. Here's the thing about that. He was more enjoyable, but there's just one thing that I don't like was the fact that he was sort of racist.
Oh well, there
Right?
is
He was a little bit racist. Like
That kind of seems to fit Kano's
Yeah, but
I know, but
do
it's like
you?
it's
I know it's problematic in this day and age and stuff, but you know,
so Kano takes a hit from that. I will say that, right? Um Raiden, he was just completely out of character.
Yeah, can I just say that that's something else I wanted to touch upon. Raiden was a very different in the 2021 because generally throughout the series he's the type to more or less hold your hand through the thing.
Yeah.
This one was a very well, screw you, figure it out yourself.
hands
Right?
off.
You don't belong here. You're a warrior, but get out of here. You don't even have the right marking. Whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Like he was. It was very odd. It's like the problem you guys probably had with Luke Skywalker being so jaded is kind of the problem I have with Raiden here.
Yeah, he kind of his tact of motivating you was kind of like downgrading you,
Yeah.
you know, like
Well,
denigrating you and stuff.
I
you
like
know?
the way they do Luke Skywalker though.
Well, yeah, again, I liked that, but to the people
do it
whose
to Raiden.
points, to the point of the people who didn't like that, that's how I feel about Raiden
Well,
here.
yeah, I agree. Right? The concepts sucked. You have Arcana, which oh my god, don't even get me started on that. So many plot points galore, right? You have all of that. And it's just the worst movie. And okay, you guys ready for this?
Oh God,
Fine.
it's gonna get a
1995.
one. It's gonna
1995.
get a one.
1995, right? 8.
Okay, I can see that.
I mean 8.5,
oh, okay,
Okay.
that is a high mark.
Yes.
right? Then
Oh God, here we go.
the new Orion. You guys ready?
It's gonna be a one or a two. I'm calling it.
He's gonna take the head and rip it out of the spine. You know,
Oh,
rip the
God.
spine out.
All right,
3.5. It
Oh,
was a
okay.
little bit better than you guys
Okay.
were expecting, but it's still
that's
half-
still pretty bad.
it's still
Still
half
pretty
the
bad.
half the more than half. I mean, less than half.
That is a
the original
very
movie.
failing grade.
Yeah, that's a failing grade either way. Right?
All right.
There you go.
There you go. Eli with the fatality, the extreme fatality.
I didn't go for a brutality this time though.
No brutality. You gave the 1995 version a babality or a friendship.
Friendship.
But it's all good. All right, so that's going to wrap up this episode of the Cross Gen podcast. I want to thank everybody for, you know,
For stuff.
stuff.
And
watching.
things-
Not watching.
I
Listening.
mean, oh my god. For listening, yes.
Listening in on this crazy podcast.
You are watching the soundbite go up and down as our voices continue to animate your earbuds.
Yeah.
There you go. So, we touched upon the 2021 version of Mortal Kombat. We did 1995's original adaptation. We touched upon the lore of the video games, including MK11. And we talked about the possibility of MK12 maybe in about a year or two from now.
And where they could take
And where they could take it.
it.
So I think this
So-
Mortal Kombat, it was a serious discussion, but it is Mortal Kombat and it should be serious.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat is not taken lightly here.
Not in this household.
Nope.
So, again, thank you for joining us. I do want to remind you that please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And on that note, I'm going to say this was a flawless victory. My name is Walt.
This is Onaga AJ.
Wait. Eli Briggs. No.
Eli Briggs. That's interesting.
Eli Blade.
Eli Blade.
I need to find out. Oh wait, Night Eli. No, Eli Wolf. No, Night Lie Wolf.
How
Night Lie
about
Wolf.
how about
Yes.
Eliga?
Oh, Eli Khan.
Eli Khan.
Shao
Ooh.
Eli. No,
Oh, I like Eli Khan.
Yeah,
Eli Khan works.
Eli
the
Khan.
Khanum of Outworld.
Oh
Eli
yeah.
Khan. Yeah, man.
We got okay. I know this is getting boring and it's getting annoying, but we need to have one for like every specific podcast, right? That would be cool, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. It all
Right, so
depends.
how do you do this for Mortal Kombat? May the X button something or other.
What's the X button? What?
On the controller,
Oh,
right? Cross gen X button.
oh, X button.
See what I'm
Oh.
trying to get at? I guess that didn't work. All right.
May our paths cross again, so that we might test our might.
Ooh.
So
I
may we
like
test
that
our
one.
might again.
I
No.
like that one. No?
Yeah, no,
Yes?
yeah.
That
May our
works?
paths cross again, so we may.
So that we might test our might.
Fatality.
No, so that we might
Brutality.
no, so that we might
Test your might.
Well, yes. There you
Mortal
go.
Kombat.
Babality.
Babality.
Friendship.
Friendship.
Why did they add that? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, that's actually good that they add that, because you know how there'll be those like Karens out there that are like,
Karens.
they're encouraging violence. Well, you can't really
Karens.
encourage violence with a babality
Karens.
or a friendship.
Get away, Karens. Were they named Karens or like what just happened there? Like, why is it Karen? Why does it have to be Karen? Like, what if they
it's
did
just,
like
I guess it's one of those
Mary
things that just
or-
stuck.
Larry, or Barry?
A berry.
I don't know. All right. Later, people.
Later.
What was that at the end?
I don't know.